So yeah, having actually having more options, having that option to even to be kind to yourself when you're going through difficult times. Actually, it's not even an aspect that is explored by many people, and that's what I want to talk to in this section, where how even being kind to yourself and how being kind to yourself actually is a factor for your empowerment, would help you kind of realize that you no longer need to be in a continual state of being a victim by the things that are around you. So what I'm really looking to get at is to understand that the true sovereignty, the true freedom, the true inner peace needs to be come from a place where you can retain that peace no matter what happens, right? Even when you make mistakes, even when other people make mistakes, we need to retain our inner peace. That's the goal of what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we should not always seek that is the end goal, but that's the direction in which we need to go into. Because if you seek something as that's the end goal, I want to make it happen, every time that you feel like you're not on the right path, you will become unkind to yourself. And that is not the goal of this. The goal is to understand that your goals are there to use as a tool to give you a direction, right? It's not there to make you happy when you reach a goal, because most of us, we think that when we hit specific goals in our life that we will be happy. But what most of us we do is that when we hit a goal, we are happy for maybe sometimes like a couple of days, depending on who you are, a couple of days, couple of months, maybe even couple of minutes, right? So the goal is should not be the one why you are happy. The goal should be the direction in which you go at, and the journey in which you explore must give you that inner peace as you go through the path, and you realize that, man, the goal itself is no longer matter to me. What actually matters is the fact that the realizations you have has enabling you to retain your inner peace or harmony within you. So my perspective is that when can be more understanding of yourself, it gives you the ability to be more understanding of others. When you can be more understanding of others, you can take decisions that are greatest good for all, including yourself and the other. Um, and that one of the best way of doing that is that focus on the development of your inner strength during any event that happens to you. So if you look at it simply, what I'm thinking, my perspective is that if you can build inner strength, then your inner peace will come as a byproduct. But and in order to get inner strength, I see it that itself is a byproduct of being kind and be loving and being more understanding. And I believe being kind, understanding is a byproduct of having a high level of wisdom. And high level of wisdom, what I mean by that is that your ability to break down fundamental nature of things. So essentially, how deeply can you slice nature? How well can you understand? How subtly you can understand nature? How can you understand the few? Can you understand the subtle energies, subtle changes in other people's emotions? Can you understand subtle changes in the economy? How well can you pick up the changes, especially the subtle changes, and also the wide scale large changes? How sensitive are you to these? And especially when we are emotionally sensitive to this we fail and often reject to look into these things, and therefore we are no longer able to make an understanding decision, or make a decision that has love within it, or has a right amount of light. What I mean by light is that how can you actually, by the things you say, can it offer more options, more choices to somebody's life. So if you're whatever you're doing in your life is no it's not cannot it doesn't offer choices for you, or choices for the other, well, then you need to question whether what you're doing is beneficial. And I know I see a lot of people wonder what should They do, and they talk about helping other people and things like that. They often fail, like, I don't know what to do to help people. Well, if you really don't know, maybe, listen to, what are some of the things I say is that the best perspective that I can offer you is that find a way to offer more perceived choices for somebody else. Like what I'm doing with these videos, I'm just offering you another perspective that you can take if you're in trouble, that will shed light into your situation and show more kindness by yourself to yourself. Right? Most of us are, what we're lacking is that we complain about nobody loving us. Right? Nobody's caring about what we do. Nobody sees what we do. Nobody acknowledges what we do. Do you even acknowledge the things you do for yourself? Do you even learn how to love yourself? Do you see yourself, the things you've been doing? When have you shown some care to your own self? Understood your own position, why you did the things you did, when you made mistakes. Did you see the circumstances you were in when you were 20 years old, 15-year-old, 30-year-old? Did you take a look at why you had to make the mistakes you made? That's one of the main aspects that I feel, as humans, we suffer, is that we continually regret the things we do, because we cannot see in an objective fashion. We are essentially getting all the time persuaded by our own emotions, right? So one of the key things I realized, that I saw the punishment I've given my own self when I was, when I was into my 30s, and when I was into my 20s, 25s, and 30s, and the amount of traumatization that my own psyche has to suffer, because I wanted external things too much, like a lot of money, job titles, just normal things as a, human who's growing up in a Western culture needs. And I didn't know my attachment to these, material things was causing me this much traumatization to my own psyche, up until, I started to get depressed and develop anxiety every time I think about these external things. So that's when I realized, man, like, one of the main issues that I was doing is that I would associate my personality or my success or my happiness to these external phenomena that I had almost no control over sometimes. I do not have a control over which employer will hire me. I do not have control over that, but I can control how I feel about day to day. The choices I take. If I continue to take choices that makes me happy day by day, moment by moment, well, then you pretty much have a better control and understanding of your situation. But you feel like often that you cannot take the choices that you should be taking, because that you have a hard time letting go of the fact that there's other things, external things like money, your degree, or whatever. These has become your personality. You cannot quickly let go of these things, and then you continually traumatize these things, yourself with these things, because you think these are the most important things, and this is how your ego is defined. But you can see how this is can be a real big issue, if all of these things were to collapse in front of you. One of the best example I can give you is that, if you're living in a Western culture, you have a nice job, you make over 100k, you have a nice job title, you have a family, and all of a sudden you get dropped in an island. You go on a plane, and you're the only survivor. How what you Whatever you did in your previous life, at that point no longer mattered. The fact that you got upset about that so strongly, that thought you were very important, is not, the things that you got thought that was very important, is no longer there. And then all of them, it just has become completely, dissolved into in dissolved within your reality and within your nature. So what can you do that point? Most of us, we essentially die because we cannot take the pain or the heartache that, thinking about all the things we have lost material wise, and interdependence is relationship wise, right? We think about all the great things other people have done for us, and then we think about the things we couldn't do for them, and we continually regret, ourselves, because of the things we couldn't do externally. What I'm saying is that you need to develop a little bit more, sovereignty, Sovereignty means that don't let external things define your happiness. Seek happiness within. Seeking happiness within is that, what I mean by the practically speaking is that take actions that you are happy with, right? What you want to do, and make sure that your whatever your actions you're taking is actually not harming others and not harming yourself. One of the main things that I started to do when I realized this is that I started to read a lot more, because I just something I really love to do, and I started to play a lot more sports because I'm maximizing that moment. That's another thing that most of these Western Eastern cultures that focus on focusing on living in the moment, but they don't really give you a practical way to live in the moment. What I recommend you do is that focus on maximizing the current moment. What is the best choice that you can take? What is the greatest good that you can bring to yourself during that point, by decision. Every decision that you can pay attention to during when you're living in your life, you should be able to make the decision that brings you the greatest happiness and greatest good for all, including yourself and others. Reading, how think about what are the things I've learned, the things that I wish to share. Some people can say, what, the certain things you share and stuff is not enabling or giving more choices on other people's side. But if you look at an on average, reading actually enables you develop your wisdom and become more understanding of one another. Look at it things that way. Find what is the greatest good that you can bring. If it could be, just simply going to work and doing what you have to do, it could be that. But what I'm saying is that if you feel like you're getting continually entrapped by your obligations and your responsibilities, maybe you need to realize that maybe you're taking on a little too much for yourself, and you're using these external obligations and contracts to keep yourself busy, thinking that these things will bring you happiness. If you continue to use these external things to bring you happiness, you need to start thinking, be smart about how long are you going to fulfill these needs and obligations. It's a never ending battle. Rather, pick the ones you can do really well. Pick the battle that you can master, dominate, be happy within, that you can control the outcomes within. So the goal is actually is not to control the outcome, is to being able to give your max effort. So when you can give your max effort to be kind to one another, to give your best advice to someone, or if you're at work, taking care of your client for the best of your abilities, that's showing love. That's you showing the greatest good. Doesn't matter which form it comes in. But what I'm saying is that forget about everything else. When you're saving your client, don't think about whether you will lose the client if you were to tell the truth. Tell the truth. Be kind to them. Tell them. Imagine yourself being in their situation. What would you do? What would you like to hear? What would you like to hear in terms of helping? If their goal is to help their business, tell them, this is my opinion. This is what you should be doing. Don't hold on to your ideas thinking, they might not like it. But just say, what, this is my perspective. I don't know how you, if you like it or not. But then give it anyway. The way I offer this, I never said that you need to believe what I say. I say I want to give you another perspective that will liberate your mind and offer you inner peace. Because I know I've seen how my mind have put me into helpless situations because I had these victim beliefs, believing these things like money is the most important factor, job titles or my title status are the most important factor, or the amount of real estate I own are the defining factor for my happiness. And obviously, I can see when those things started to shake up a little bit, I would get emotionally little. You will go through emotional difficulties. And if it happens all the time and you don't understand that these things are just external but temporal things or temporary things, that means they are time oriented, they do not continually stay the same. You become a lot more wiser about what you should be doing in your life, right? So the key thing to understand, you need to understand there are weaknesses and weaknesses and mistakes that you have made because you wanted external things in life. Rather than letting yourself be victimized by external thing, take a little bit more control. Focus on, if you have a lot of things going on and you feel like continually being victimized, reduce the amount of action you have to take, and take a look at the most important responsibilities you need to focus on, rather than trying to do all of the things every time, because this is this continuous impatience that humans suffer from. I this is one of the greatest issues that I have, that I did not have any patience. I want things right away, and I had high blood pressure because of that, and I had a very hyper personality. I would be very very quick with people, very snappy. I honestly thought I knew better than them, and that is my weakness, that is my arrogance, and I've paid dearly for that, and I've been put into to the ground to show, look, Dulik, you're nothing. You're all the things that you believed about yourself are oriented based on external things. What would happen? All of these things to be collapsed onto the ground. Can you still be happy? Can you still survive? Can you still retain your peace? And a lot of the times when it happened, I couldn't. I didn't. I just didn't have any other way but be disappointed within myself. But when it continue to happen, nature's kind of have a way of showing, look, this is what I'm trying to tell you. You want to be sovereign, but all your sovereignty is based out of things that are externally oriented, or in psychology that's known as external locus of control, where your orientation towards your livelihood is focused on manipulating and advancing your self through external materials, that it could be relationships with other, or relationship with your material things. What I say is that develop a greater relationship with your own self. Be kind. Look at yourself as another person that's trying to learn and grow in this place. And a lot of the mistakes and the weaknesses that you had in your life, you need to understand you didn't know better at that time. Even when you knew, you couldn't take the best choice at that time. Understand, look, that was your weakness at the time, and understand that it is okay. But from if you understand what I'm saying now, you need to see, look, there is another way. You don't need to always act like that. From the day you know that you need to do the right thing, do the right thing. Easiest way to know if you're doing the right thing or wrong thing, ask yourself, if this were to happen, if the action I'm taking, if I was on the other side, would I like this if this were to happen to me? Simple as that. Whether deciding if I'm going to should be going to play basketball or tennis with other. Well, if somebody else likes to do it, why not? It brings the greatest good. But if you force somebody to do it and make them feel bad for not coming, you're restricting their choices in their life, right? So that's what I'm saying that you need to look at, in terms of adding more choices to yourself. Do things that offers more choices. This is why I encourage you guys to read more, to understand things more, understand spirituality more, understand the actual localized life more, understand how technology works, understand how politics work, understand how economic works. Explore all of these things rather than judging them. Every time I talk about politics, somebody say, like, Justin Trudeau, our Canadian Prime Minister is bad. Why is the opinion? What if you were in this situation and you didn't know what the right thing to do? And, if you didn't have the right political background, or you didn't have the right political knowledge or economic knowledge, or, the way to how to speak, what if you don't have the right skills, and then sometimes you continually make mistakes? Would you like it if you're continually, harming that person and coming after them? I wouldn't. Why would you do to them? Same with if you're in a constituent, like some people pick up on Doug Ford all the time, right? Same with when Rob Ford was out there, right? We are picking on these politicians continuously and incessantly. They are humans as we are, trying to figure out what the right thing to do. They may want to do, some of these guys really want to do and advance our lives, right? But when they come to the job, they realize how difficult it is, no matter how much of what they want to do the right thing. And I'm not saying that these guys are always are so other selfless and always worrying about others. But what I want you to understand is that if they are even not doing these things, that they are doing the right thing, that means they're feeling deprived. That means they are feeling they are not enough. So I think we should be taking care of these guys who are politicians or whoever take care of others in the maximum way, by showing them kindness and showing them a path that they can grow their skills in terms of how to handle people, how to handle a country, how to handle the infrastructure. Right? It's not about trying to just put another person down just because you think your livelihood is affected by the actions they take. I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm saying is that it might be much more beneficial if you focus on the greatest good and find these politicians a safer place that they can make a decision without being, without we ripping them apart. Every time they make a move, so they can make a clear decision. So this is again my opinion, but this is how I feel, and I feel like we all of us need a little bit more understanding and kindness if we want to be a little bit happier in our lives. And at the end of the day, it's my father passed away recently. It's one of the things I realize is that at the end of the day, you do not take anything else but your inner peace and inner strength, and that loving kindness attitude. Before you die, everything you work for, job, money, none of this you can take. That's what I'm saying. Even just contemplating your death, that it can happen anytime in tomorrow, it really puts into perspective what you should be valuing. Right? So that's one of the things that I realized. I started to think about these things, and I started to care about you guys more, and I started to care about myself more, than knowing that man, all the things that I've done to myself up to this point is so materially oriented, or like immaterially oriented. Immaterially oriented means like things like I don't know, like relying on relationships and things like that. I mean, they are important, they are amazing part of the creation, but understand they have to be let go before you go. So if you have been doing the right thing even before you die, what? From the day I knew I make mistakes, I try to correct myself. I try to see where the harm was coming from. I think that's all you can really do. Focus on that maximum effort to take the right decision in a continuous way, and have a good set of principles that will guide you through this life. This is my opinion, and yes, it is serving me. And if you can take a couple of things from what I said, that's all I can ask for. Take care.